Sunday sessions are such a fuel in life. I can't tell you that. It's like amazing. And the kind of response even when I am getting, it's like
Mhm.
little things that people say that, what you talk, it actually gives them a food for thought for the rest of the week or, to think it over. Because choti choti baatein hoti hai, which actually makes so much of a difference. And the topic that we've taken today is also about judgment. It seems so natural or innate habit of a human being. I assume that the moment we see something, judgment is the first thing that just pops out, whether we are seeing somebody walking on the road, whether we see a person in a particular situation. So judgment, somehow, nobody actually, I think, even thought about that, how judgment can disempower us, and how it stops the abundance also coming from our life. Referring back to my abundance workshop with you, which I remember you said that, because we have judgment against people, or not really looking into the situation where they have come from, neither knowing their past, and quickly coming up to a thing that which possibly makes us either righteous, or we think that, who is better, or the lenses that we are wearing is how we look at them. So I think the first thing I would really want you to explain it to all of us, because I've also been thinking about it. It comes so naturally, like a tendency that most of us don't even realize it, that we are judging a situation or a person. How do we stop that?
Okay. So good morning and welcome to those who just joined in. Um, yeah, though this seems like a very mundane topic, but I feel that most of us are limited in our lives because of the judgments. And all of us, if we are in a space of little awareness, then we understand that, we are limiting ourselves, whether it is in our relationships, and like Vinita mentioned, whether it is opening ourselves to abundance or to receiving, because a judgment comes in very naturally. And when we say that, like, how can we stop ourselves, as Vinita asked, simply, the biggest thing, of course, we all know now is to just be in that state of awareness, isn't it? Be in that state of awareness where you catch yourself when you feel that you are judging somebody. So just to give you a little, just to make it a little more simple, first and foremost, just catch your mind, because whenever you look at something, like supposing I'm looking at the screen and it's like, oh, there are only 7 people here, it's a Sunday morning, blah, 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 the mind will go into something. So we have this unconscious chatter in our mind that comes in, and the mind feels that it needs to comment on everything that it sees. Just going for a walk and you see, suddenly you start talking to your own mind that, oh, that lady walking there, she's this, or you will have a judgment about her, or a thought will cross, like, oh, it's school time for these children, and you will go back to how you went to drop your kids to school. So always there's some kind of a conversation that goes on in our mind whenever we see anything for that matter. We have to catch ourselves at that initial stage. We really have to nip the bud there, if one understands what it means, because invariably the mind is going to bring up some kind of a comment, but we don't need to answer each and every comment that the mind is throwing at us, because it is those comments that further lead to judgments. Is this something which most of you are aware of? And you can just give me a thumbs up or speak about it, because this is the base of what leads to judgments. If we catch ourselves here, then it will not go ahead. Yeah, thank you for responding. Yeah, Harmeet, do you feel that you catch yourself commenting, right? So if
Yes.
we are aware of that and we stop ourselves at that, please go ahead, Harmeet, share what you were saying.
No, I was just saying that whenever some thought comes, we start adding to that. We start going with that flow only instead of stopping if we are not aware of it. That's what I wanted to
Yeah,
say.
so
Yeah.
so that's the first step. Yeah, it's just like, see, if there are 2 people or 3, 4 people around and everybody is commenting on something, somebody makes a comment, you don't need to add to that comment, right? But we feel to be included, or to be feeling like validating or sharing our opinion, and it's okay, but we have to be very aware of what is our response, because that response comes from a preconceived judgment in our mind. Am I making sense? It's coming from there. So we have to catch ourselves there. Is it really important for me to respond or to speak to another person? Like, we can catch ourselves in the physical world, but maybe in the mental mind, we may not be able to catch ourselves all the time, because it is very, very unconscious. And I feel for most of us who are not aware on our journey, even the physical interactions with people, the conversations that we have in general with people, are very unconscious, isn't it? It's kisi ne kuch bola, you feel that, oh, I need to add to this. But stop and pause. Take that pause and see, do I really need to add to this? Because and the other person may think, oh, from what space did she make that comment? You might be coming from a very good space, but the other person might take it in a way where, why is she judging me, or I'm feeling judged in some way. So the judgments come in because we speak unconsciously. If we are conscious, we are not meaning to judge anybody. And if you're coming from a clear-hearted space where you're just saying what you're wanting to say, the other person will not feel judged, right? But if you're saying it from a very unconscious space, from the point of just commenting or speaking or responding in a way where we have always been taught to respond in that way, then obviously judgments come in. What exactly is judgment? What exactly is judgment? It's a kind of a comment or a statement that is there in your mind, which sort of, which you have the thought or the idea you have of the other person or the situation or of yourself, isn't it? You have that idea so deeply imprinted in you that it becomes like a judgment, that this is just the way to be, or this is how she's going to behave, this is how he's going to respond, isn't it? It's already a judgment in your mind. And when you meet a person or you speak to a person and we have any of those preconceived ideas or thoughts in our mind, then it is natural that our statements will come across as judgments, because we are already coming from a space where we are anticipating the other person's response to be in a way which you've already thought that that's how the person is, isn't it? And that judgment is very, very limiting, because we don't allow ourselves, whether it is judging ourselves or judging others, to see beyond that space. The other person may have worked on themselves, or maybe in a space of awareness, or may not be in a space of judging you. But since you feel judged, or you feel that kind of a limitation within you, the other person's statement or interaction would feel like a judgment, isn't it? And that's what brings about disharmony in relationships, doesn't it? Judgment brings about a lot of disharmony in relationships. So when you feel that you're saying something and you already thought, okay, now this person is like this and he or she is always going to be like this, then you're coming from a very, very limited space, isn't it? And like Vinita mentioned, and I'm just going to take that a little forward, when we speak about abundance, and when we speak about abundance, sometimes we look at it only in terms of money or prosperity or, finances, but that's not true. And just to give you an example, that supposing I have a belief or a judgment in my mind that, wealth and prosperity or abundance comes with a lot of hard work and struggle, because that's how I've sort of grown up or seen my parents or heard people around. And this could be for anybody. Then I feel that, oh, till the time I don't work hard, I will not be successful, isn't it? So life becomes what? Even the simplest of tasks becomes a struggle. I'm giving you an example which may not be directly related to, to what we are talking, but it gives us a background of what I mean, a judgment. A judgment like that, which I have in my mind. If I have to be prosperous, I have to be it has to be like coming like a struggle. It doesn't come easy. We hear ourselves passing these comments all the time, isn't it? Life is a struggle. If we believe that life is a struggle, or if we have that judgment in our head that life is a struggle, life will be a struggle, because we will look at everything from a space of a struggle. But if we say, oh, life is so beautiful, even if one is going through the hardest of challenges and going through a terminal illness, or still you feel, no, life is so beautiful, then in the midst of that whole crisis also life will be beautiful, because it's the judgment or the preconceived idea that you have of yourself that is reflected back to you in life. That's why we say be in gratitude, raise your vibrations, be in a joyous space, whatever might be the situation, because then those judgments fall off. And it is so liberating when those judgments fall off, isn't it? And sometimes the mind will come up and say, but that's not true. I mean, I have to really work hard and I have to really struggle. Only then things come to me. They don't come easy. But then that's your belief. So that is how life will present itself to you. And a lot of times, because of these judgments, why do they become limiting? Because of these judgments, we feel that when the situation will be different, that's when my life will become easy, whether it's in my relationships or in my career. That when, situations outside become easy, then I'll be in a better space of mind. And sometimes those situations outside or external situations may never be easy. In fact, they become so-called, they might become even more tough. So we have to totally drop those. When we catch ourselves, now catch yourselves, be aware of these things. And today I have a particular worksheet also, which I'm going to, run through you to have these 4 questions to help you break out of judgments. Now that was like talking about, say, work, career, finances, success. Now, supposing we move to a space where we say that in a relationship, I always judge another person knowing that, okay, he always gets angry, or she always, speaks to me in a way that I feel that she humiliates me, or she puts me down, or she's always doing, like, we just have these things in our mind, and we have labeled those people as being, say, angry people, or people who judge us, or people who are wanting to put us down or show us down. Then when we are in conversation with those people or in our interactions with those people, we will always feel so, even if the other person doesn't intend to be so. So is the problem with the other person, or is the problem with me? That person, when I always feel rejected by this person, is that person rejecting you, or are you feeling rejected? Have you accepted yourself in the way that you are? And believe me, once you drop these judgments about yourself, everything opens up for you. Everything opens up for you. I can say this and speak this from my own life experience. All that I speak, and that's why when Vinita said that there are these small things that people take back from here, is because I speak totally from my own experience. If I have a low self-esteem and a low self-confidence, and I don't feel comfortable in my surroundings, or when I'm around with people, and I feel, oh, this one might be looking at me, this might be thinking something of me, believe me, those people are not interested in thinking or looking at me in that way. It is my own inner conversation, inner talk, inner judgment that makes me reflect that energy out. And when I reflect that energy out, I see it coming to me from other people. If I don't care, whatever, I'm just perfect the way I am. You like it, fine. You don't like it, fine. That's not my problem. Then you will see no one pointing a finger at you. And that's when relationships become more meaningful. If we're always wanting to change things in ourselves and in other people, and we are always wanting that this one should mold according to my list of preferences, and the other person feels that you should be changing according to his or her list of, the way one should be, then the relationships cannot work. But if you accept yourself in just the way that you are, you will see others accepting you in totally that way. And there'll be absolutely no confrontation. And even if there is, then it's okay to agree to disagree at some points and leave it at that. Yes, Vinita?
So these are 2 things. One, of course, we are talking about the authentic self, to be in your authentic self, wherein we are talking about we have to accept the way we are. And I am just also thinking out loud that maybe judgments come because we have that, again, a desire to be proved right or validated. So maybe by pointing fingers at others, we have that satisfaction of pulling the trigger that, okay, I am better off than the other person, and it gives us a feeling of maybe a momentary satisfaction or a validation. That's how it is it?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Definitely that is there, because we know that everything or every issue that we are struggling with, or every issue that comes up in our life, is basically only coming from an egoic space, isn't it? It is 100% only coming from our ego. What needs to be validated? Our ego. What judges? Our ego, the egoic part of us, isn't it? So, and when you use the word authentic self, the authentic self doesn't have any judgment. If we really look at it in that way. So, even when we use these terms, and I'm not really correcting you, but I am correcting you because authentic self is something which doesn't have any judgment. It's just who we are. It's just like being. There's no doing there, isn't it? And there, even the J of judgment doesn't exist. But what we say by authentic self, and I understand when you say that, it's meaning to be in that space of the person being in a space where there's no judging, there's no, there's no negativity, there's no judgment of others, or and that authentic self actually needs no validation, if I may take it one step further, isn't it? But yes, when you say authentic self, I understand that as a person, we are in that space where we are not really, I wouldn't say bothered, because it's not about bothered, but there is a concern about ourselves, about life, about people around us, about our near. It's not that we are indifferent, but we are also looking at, and this is the second point that I really thought I need to bring about today, is that we have to look at the other person from a space of understanding that he or she is just doing their best, isn't it? We are judging them because we want certain things to be changed, because they are not in a way where you would ideally want them to be, or you would want to look at them like that. I mean, if you look at your child, you would want that the child should, do very well in his life and his studies and all, of course. But one is a concern and a love that you would pray and want the child to be like that. And second is like a judgment where you see that, oh, this child is good for nothing, he can do nothing, or why is he not like that? Those are the questions. But can we not look at the other person or the situation, understanding that the person is just doing their best? Who wouldn't want to be more peaceful, more joyous, more happy? Everybody, each one of us would want to be, but we are not able to do beyond a point, and we are doing 100% all the time. I remember even when I was a teacher, or when I used to go to school for my children's PTM meetings, or even when I was a child, there was always this comment, can do better, isn't it? Can do better. Of course they can do better, but at this moment, by writing or by saying can do better, are we really helping the person or the child? We are not. We all know we all have a higher potential. We all can do better, isn't it? Each one of us present here. But at this moment or at any point in our lives, aren't we doing our best? And so can we not look at other people also from that space, that they are doing their best? It may not match up to what we want, but if it is making the other person comfortable, then it is none of your business to say anything, unless the person comes to you for some kind of guidance or for help. Then too, you have to look at that person with compassion and understand that he or she is doing their best. And from that space, how you can lift them up higher to make them feel more comfortable with themselves or with their life. So when you say that, Vinita, authentic self is absolutely right. It's a space from where we have no judgments. We have no judgments about ourselves or about others. And we are in total harmony and in alignment with whatever life is offering us, isn't it? There is no discord. There is no disharmony. And of course, it takes us a lot to be there, if I may say it. Again, I'm not saying it from a judgment point of view, because all of us would feel that it's so difficult to be in that space, isn't it? All of us would feel that it's so difficult to be in that space. But actually, no. If we just drop that chatter in our mind, if we just, sort of understand that it's okay, whatever is okay. I'm not feeling okay with it. It's not doing me any good. I'm really suffering. I'm really struggling. It's fine, but it is okay. And that does not mean that when you say it's okay, the struggle actually becomes easier, isn't it? Even when I say it, it becomes okay. And just like we say that, yeah, things are not okay, everything is seeming very topsy-turvy, but I am fine. It is that authentic self which is fine, that this is just a turmoil going around, and before you know, it will settle down. Tsunami is happening outside, kids are shouting, things are going here, there's arguments, there's a lot of things that are happening around. But if by getting into judgments, I can solve those issues, by all means, get into judgments. But if it is just going to further put me in a negative spiral, would I want to go there? Can I not look at the whole situation as, okay, it's something there, but I know that I exist peacefully in the midst of all this turmoil, isn't it? Yes, Srishti, Tanvi, let's have your question.
So Auntie, I have two questions. One is it right to say that a judgment comes from an experience? And the part B is that if the experience is good, it will not affect you. But if the experience is bad, the judgment acts like a kind of, caution that beware or just take care of yourself. Don't exert yourself to a limit where you drag yourself into negativity or some kind of emotions that can hurt you.
Yes, absolutely. Judgments definitely come from past experiences, because we have had some kind of, say, interactions with those people or life experiences, and we feel, oh, it's not okay, or it's not safe to be back in that same thing. So I was also studying a course last week, and we were talking about the fight, flight, and freeze reaction. That is so natural. We were studying about the brain and the subconscious mind. So what happens when we come into an emotionally charged time? The first thing is that we fight, right? That is the judgment. When we get defensive, we get into an argument because of certain threats that we feel. So everything is definitely to make yourself feel safe, isn't it? And below that is just like a space of social interactions where we are joyous and happy. But the moment we feel a kind of a threat, we first move into a fight kind of a reaction where we would be defensive, or our brain would make us, get into an argument to prove ourselves in some way. So we come into an argument or a fight mode. And the next is like a flight mode where we feel, okay, now we are losing out on this fight. So we just escape that situation, right? And the third is where we really feel we can't handle it. Then it's a freeze mode where we become numb, so we really don't feel anything. We go into depression, or we go into a space where we are not really interacting. We faint, we get paranoid, or we get into a sort of a mode where we just freeze in some way. We don't move in any which way. So this is very, very natural that judgments come from something which is already there in our mind, and that's the way of our uh, energy system to keep us safe. And yes, the second part of your question is that if it is not a pleasant experience from the past, then obviously it's a word of caution that don't tread on this. But the bigger thing in this whole thing is, how comfortable are you with this whole thing? A lot of times we are just escaping the situation, isn't it, by saying that, oh, this is going to be a threat on me. A bigger part of me would say, okay, so what? If it's meant to be a threat, it'll be a threat. If it's not meant to be, it'll pass away. But let me at least explore it within myself, not about outside, within myself. Yeah, I've had a bad experience with this particular person. I mean, if you say you're traveling a particular airline and you had a bad experience, you obviously think, next time I'm not going to take that airline, isn't it? Now that's a different kind of a judgment. But next time you may hear somebody saying, oh, I had a wonderful experience. So don't take anything as ultimate. That's where the limitation comes in. That's where the limitation comes in. You may have had a bad experience and you may have sent them a complaint or something, and next time you travel, you don't choose to travel, but if you do, they might be that they are, they go an extra mile to help you because they had something, you had a bad experience last time. But again, would those people want to give you a bad experience? No, they wouldn't. They are doing the best in that point, isn't it? So you need to look at it at that point. And yes, you can choose not to go that path again, which is absolutely fine because you did not have a good experience, but it may not always be so. And how do we grow if we don't choose the different paths? How do we grow? Otherwise, we'll always be limited to one particular way of being, isn't it? And I don't mean that we put ourselves down in the ditch if we know that, okay, so this person, when I go with that person, let's come more to emotional, how these judgments impact us emotionally. If I know that I'm sitting with this person and this person is definitely going to sap my energy, why would I want to be with that person? So there are two things. Either I would build some healthy boundaries, or I would not go to that person, not go and meet that person, or not interact with that person. But why? I mean, isn't that so limiting? if I really want to grow, because I have to see there how this judgment or this belief or this trigger in the other person is bringing up a kind of a negative feeling or a negative emotion within me. And that's what I need to overcome.
Right.
Even if it is with yourself, even if it is with yourself. I don't mean that one should put yourself in danger, but see, okay, so this person, whenever I go with this person, I come back and I'm so exhausted and I'm so drained. Okay, so reflect, why can't I keep my energy levels high to that level where I don't allow that person's energy to come into my energy field? And in fact, if I bring about that higher presence, the other person will only want to be with you, and there's no way that your energy can be sapped. Isn't it?
Yes, auntie, absolutely. I got that point.
So definitely, but exercise that awareness and that point of caution where you feel, okay, now beyond this, I just need to step away. That's building those healthy boundaries that we were speaking about last week also, isn't it? But if I just allow myself to fall into that space of judgment, no, I'm not never looking that side, because that's not something for me. I had a very bad experience, now gone. Now that is like cut off for life. That's really limiting yourself, isn't it?
Yes, auntie, right. Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
And there are phases for all of us. There are phases for all of us. We hear ourselves saying, oh, I just can't do this. Now, if you've declared in your mind you just can't do this, your body energy will never allow you to do that. That's what you need to break. That's what you need to break. And just see how judgments, because of judgments, we limit ourselves in our relationships, in our interactions, in our, in so much that life has to offer us. Even if it is like, oh, I know this particular vegetable. I mean, for me, I'll tell you, I never used to drink coffee. For 57 years of my life, I could never drink coffee because the smell of coffee would give me like a headache. As a child, I had my bus stop next to a place in Delhi where they would grind fresh coffee. And I would always get that smell and it would go to my head. And I never, ever drank coffee for 57 years of my life. Yes, cold coffee sometimes, but never hot coffee. And this time when I went in the summer to the US, I was staying with a family, and that young child had bought a beautiful coffee machine and he was so excited about it. I just couldn't say no to him, And believe me, after that, I've got so addicted to coffee. It was just that it's a judgment in my mind. I can never drink coffee. I can never drink coffee. I only have to drink tea. So I'm just giving you again a very stupid, mundane example. But once we step out and say, okay, for some reason, let me just taste it. And when you get sensitive to these energies, you will feel your body saying a yes or a no. Isn't it? You will feel your body saying a yes or a no. So never say never. That's just it. Just be open to it and say, who knows what happens tomorrow? Who knows what happens tomorrow? So just be open to it. And whenever you catch yourself judging yourself, how will you catch yourself? Because there's something that is limiting you. Something that you feel, oh, this cannot happen, or it won't happen. And you already know the reason in your mind. Sometimes these, I remember once a lady came to me and she would say that, please help me. She came for many sessions and she would say, I just know this man in my life is never going to change. I just know my mother-in-law is never going to change, right? And then after a session or two, I told her, every time you come to me, you keep repeating this, because she has that judgment in her mind that he's never going to change, she's never going to change. You please help me change them, right? So obviously I told her, I can't change them, I can only change you. But if you keep repeating this, you're only reinforcing that judgment in your head, in your life. And poor things, even if they're trying to change, you cannot see it because you're so blinded by that judgment, isn't it? So that's where you need to drop those things. And I told her, don't waste your time and my time and your money by coming here, because you already know that they're not going to change. And you have that so deeply ingrained in you. And every time you only want to say that, then I really can't help you. So firstly, you have to stop saying this. In fact, I would say the other way around, that yes, bring it into yourself and say that, yeah, he's definitely going to change. She's definitely going to love me. But the ego will stop you so strongly. How can you even say this thing? If you have somebody with whom you have a little, a kind of a relationship which is so judgment, even if you say that, yeah, someday she's going to love me, it's not easy for any of us. I know many of us can't say it so easily, because your mind is saying, what nonsense, what rubbish, इस जन्म में तो नहीं होने वाला. So then, इस जन्म में तो नहीं होने वाला, that's your judgment. But believe me, you can break through all these things. You can really break through. That's the expansive state that you need to live from. Isn't it? Yes, Vinita?
What you focus on expands now. So in our
True.
case, that
Absolutely, law of
will never
attraction.
happen. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
Ria, I have a question here. So she's asking, my neighbor comments on my hair and whatever I have to tell my child. So it comes from a something that I do not like, and I do not like stepping out of the house, or rather, I always wonder that I should not see her in and around when I'm moving. So I think this is what how I feel is that it is some people are just in the habit of doing it. It's just more a matter of seed that is there that they have to speak on anything and everything. I mean, they
That's
possibly are not
unconscious.
talking.
That's unconscious chatter, na? That's where the awareness comes in. That's unconscious chatter, na? It's just that you have to comment on something. And it's also like from a very egoic space, the need to be proven right that what I'm saying is like, I have the right to comment on anything and everything and not being sensitive to the other person's energy. But I would say forget about the neighbor, work on yourself, just become so impervious to her comments. Why do those comments hurt you? There are two things. Sometimes people say, oh, she's commenting so much, now there's something bad that is going to happen. Nazar lag jayegi. Like how you say, okay, I don't want to interact because you feel that way, or it triggers something inside you because you are not confident about yourself. I mean, do you think your neighbor has so much power, or for that matter, anybody in your life has so much power that they comment on something and that, begins to happen in your life? It'll only happen when your energy is absolutely dead and you're such a weakling within. You know that the universe is doing whatever it needs to. Who is she or you to be that? But if you believe so strongly that her comments are going to impact you and they trigger you, then they will definitely do that. But work on yourself as to say that, okay, if she's commenting, she's commenting, yeah. I mean, pardon me for saying, but when you're going in a car, so many people are honking, so many dogs are barking, you're not answering everybody. And you feel that, that so much is happening around you. Only what you focus on will trigger you because there is something within you which is getting triggered. So reflect on what is it inside that is getting triggered. If you know that you are dealing with your child in the best way, and if anybody is commenting, if she has value in that, then reflect on it. If not, there's no need to just ignore it. And if the day you start ignoring it, she'll shut up, believe me. And I don't mean to disrespect her or disrespect you in any which way in this conversation, but just why are you taking it in such a personal way? Why are you taking it in a personal way that she is addressing and she's telling it to you? Maybe Vani and Gitanjali here can share something on that. I saw Gitanjali joining in. Whenever we take things personally, that she is saying this and she's saying this to me, she's just saying it as a habit of commenting on anything. But if that is a sore spot within you, then it will definitely impact you. So grow, just reflect more on yourself. Would you just stop stepping out of your house just because of the fact that she may comment? That's really not being fair on yourself, isn't it? That's the limitation that you bring in. So, okay, she's going to step out, she's going to comment. Okay, fine. Just be prepared for it, listen to it and walk away. Fine. You don't need to be unaware and comment back. Isn't it? And catch yourself. What is the emotion I feel when she says this? What triggers inside me? Is it a jealousy? Is it an anger? Is it a judgment that she's making on me? But it's just her judgment. It cannot impact me till the time I receive it. That's what I would pray and wish for each one of you to grow to that level. And that does not mean being indifferent. That just means being more and living more in awareness. Okay, that's okay. Gitanjali, that's fine. Because I know you have gone through so many things where you have gone through these judgments and you worked your way out of it. So that's why I picked on you, Gitanjali, but it's absolutely okay. Can you just read Vani's comment? She's on Seher's iPad. Vinita? Are you muted? Seher has just commented something. Seher's iPad.
Yeah, I'm just checking. Sorry. So she says, yesterday I felt conscious of my getting into a judgment zone. It felt like a big victory.
Absolutely. That's what I started with, saying that the moment you catch yourself in that judgment zone, you will see how limiting it becomes on you. And the moment you catch yourself and you're able to step away, it's like a wow, because it liberates you so much. It liberates you so much. Just look at it in the literal way also. Supposing there is a judgment passed on you or on somebody, where do they land up after that judgment? Isn't it that they are in prison? Isn't it? Judgment takes you to prison.
Yeah.
But if you free yourself of judgments, you are absolutely free and liberated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think
she's
I will
adding
speak
to
now.
this.
Okay.
Vinita,
Yeah,
I
Vani,
will
go ahead.
it was
Okay,
I,
okay,
I'm
okay.
done. I just
Okay.
got out of the kitchen. So basically,
Okay.
yesterday I was in that kirtan thing that we had all gone to, and I wanted to
Yes.
meet the artist, and I just didn't want to just barge into the green room. So I asked the lady at the reception that, my friend is inside and I want to meet her and I can't get through to her phone. Can I go in, please? And that lady at the reception said, "Madam, हमें नहीं पता, आप ऐसे नहीं जा सकते." And I within that very second, it's like within a fraction of a second you start judging the other person and yourself, because I thought, oh, because I am not the fancy IIC type and hence she's not allowing me in, she's looking down upon me. And I just very quietly went back in and sat down and said, ठीक है, you know what, अगर मिलना होगा तो मिल लेगी, probably this is not meant to be. But I was bringing पता नहीं parts का कितना baggage into this, and I stopped myself. I said, नहीं Vani, stand there, wait. And she's not, वो जो बोल रही है उसका हो सकता है, दिन पूरा जा रहा हो, whatever. But what you are thinking is your thing. It's not, उसने कुछ नहीं बोला ऐसा, उसने तो, she probably is protecting the artist from
She's doing
an
her
invader.
work. She's doing her job.
She's doing her job.
And how personally we take it, like, yeah, I never get the choice, or I'm not one of those high fives, so I can't get it. But that's not true. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. That's
So I immediately, and आपने पहले भेजा था ये, I wanted, because I do it so many times, and the minute you sent that there's going to be a conversation about it, I was like, I have to be here because I'm now trying to be very conscious about this in myself. कि एकदम से for every soul around me, I end up bringing my own interpretation कि ये arrogant है, ये ऐसा है, ये वैसा है, अपना एक character study बनाकर अंदर रख लेते हैं for no reason.
absolutely.
We don't have to. हम कौन है to judge? So
exactly. And then it's like you just feel so bad about yourself because you're not allowed and you're further judging yourself. So in a way, you're validating what the other person is saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you say it's okay, she's just doing her job, because obviously anybody can come and say, I want to go in, and she's obviously has a lot to handle. So she's just saying, no, we don't know about it. She's doing her job. If you just look at it that way, and then, you respectfully say, okay, so I've at least come here for this concert, which I don't even know I would have been able to attend, and instantly shift that whole thing. You just suddenly feel so respected and, validated and in a good space.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. और वही जो हम लोग प्योर आर्ट्स में बात कर रहे थे कि कहाँ what is it that we are giving our mind space to, क्या जरूरत है इन सबको.
Exactly. The moment you catch yourself, how expansive it becomes. Otherwise, you shrink back into your, limited, constrained self. Thank you for sharing, Vani.
Thank you so much for doing this. I really wanted to be pushed in this direction, and I'm glad that this conversation is happening.
Yeah. You are doing wonderfully, Vani. You are doing absolutely fabulously.
Yay.
Gitanjali has also shared an experience just now. So she's saying she had to go to a party yesterday, and of course, the party had a lot of people who had judged her in the past. So, of course, she went into the gathering, into the party, covering herself with that divine thought and the divine light. And she said that I was absolutely unfazed about what was happening there, what they had to tell me. I just felt so good in my heart and so complete,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's again, and today morning,
awareness.
I was hearing a talk on this, and I thought maybe in a week or so we'll put up this topic, but I think it's come up so many times today. It's like, how comfortable am I with myself? How comfortable am I with myself? So maybe we can pick it up, next next week or the following week, depending on when we are having the talk. Because if you are comfortable with yourself, if you're not judging yourself, you may be anywhere and you may be like, sitting with the prime minister or anybody, it will just not matter. And if not, you might be the most highest post, but if you're not comfortable with yourself, you'll always feel attacked and threatened in different ways. So we'll speak about this next time, but I'm sure all of us, can benefit from this little exercise, and many of you might have done it, those of you who have worked with me, but it's not something that I do so often. But I would like you to, do this exercise that I'm guiding you into, because it helped me initially. And believe me, I've done so many worksheets on this in my initial days of understanding about emotions and how they limit us. I want each one of you right now in your spaces to pick up a statement for somebody who you feel that you judge this person. And it could be anybody close. I mean, all of us have. I just so many times say, oh, I wish my son did not do this, or I wish my daughter did not have this, issue in her, this aspect or this kind of behavior, or somebody who's a helper in your house, just pick up anything for anybody. You don't have to share if you don't feel like. There's absolutely no compulsion. But I want you to pick up a statement which is not comfortable, which you feel that, oh, this is a statement, I wish I could change this about somebody. Just anything in general, anything in general. Let's take that statement, and then I'm going to ask you to do 4 questions to turn that statement around and see how that judgment is limiting you in your life. Yeah. Is it clear to everybody? Just do it, and then maybe, at a later point, you can sort of do it differently or work on it in a different way, because it just shows you how your thoughts really, really limit you.
So do we think about something specific to another person, or generic statements that we've begun to sort of deeply believe in, and they're
You
not
can do
helping
it.
us?
Do either,
Okay.
Vani. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Just take
Okay.
a statement. Just
Take
take a
it.
statement that you feel, in that way, and then let's answer these questions around that.
Okay.
Suddenly my mind has gone totally blank. Okay. Yeah, just take a moment. I had just written this all down, and I'm just getting suddenly blank about the first statement. So I'm just going to take a moment. I had kept the questions here, but so do you have your questions, your statements?
So it could also be a situation that, or
Yes,
a
yes,
habit.
absolutely. Could also be a situation. Yeah. Okay, got it. So when you look at the statement now, anybody who wants to share the statement can also share after we've spoken. Ask yourself firstly, is this true? Is the statement true? And I just want a yes and no, no detailed going into it. Just a yes, no, just keep it for yourself and we can discuss it later. And then the next question that you ask yourself, is this the absolute truth? Okay, thanks, Tulika. That will really help if you share like that. Is it the absolute truth? Now understand, the absolute truth is something which never changes. Okay? Is it the absolute truth? And then the third statement is, how do you feel with this thought? How do you feel with this thought? And the fourth statement would be, how do you feel without that thought? Okay, with the thought, obviously, it's a negative, painful feeling. And how do you feel without that thought? When you drop that thought? When I say drop that thought, meaning whatever judgment that you have for yourself or for anybody, if you just drop it, how do you feel?
Maybe neutral, just not putting your energy there.
Okay, I may, Tulika, would you like to share? Okay, that's okay. Because I just heard you saying yes to the second question. So I was just a little, I just wanted to know a little bit about that. So, okay, supposing anybody else who would like to share? Don't feel judged here, just share. This is totally a non-judgmental platform. Nobody's judging you for what you're saying or sharing. It'll only help you to free yourself. Like supposing, I'll give you an example. Supposing I say that, okay, this person in my life, or this lady, this man, this lady in my life, always is always angry with me or always rejects me. Okay, that's something that I have in my mind, and so I always feel very small, limited in that relationship, or I don't feel good in that relationship because I feel that he or she always rejects me or puts me down, or gets very angry at me. That's a judgment in my mind, and I'm sure we all have such judgments sometimes that come up. So if I say it is the truth, is it true? Obviously it'll feel true to me because that's what happens majority of the times. But would I say it's the absolute truth? Meaning, like, always, whenever I have connected to this person, has he or she always made me feel rejected? Have they never made me feel loved? Or even have they never been neutral towards me? Well, I wouldn't say yes to that. So if I say yes to that, that means that there's something I need to reflect on, because as bad or as negative a person, a situation, like if I say that, okay, I'm just very bad at, I know I just can't draw, or I can't do this. If I say I can't do this, that's a judgment in my mind that, yeah, I can never dance, I can never draw. So if is it true? Of course it's true. Then is it the absolute truth? No. I mean, sometimes I do move around, I can shake myself out to, dance. And how am I with that thought that this person puts me down, or I can't dance? Of course I feel bad, or I feel limited, or I feel not good about myself, if I may just say it. And how am I without that thought if I just drop that thought and I say, yeah, it is absolutely so liberating and freeing, isn't it? So this is like, turn that thought around. It is only a thought in your mind, isn't it? Vani, were you able to do it? Or anybody else who would like to share? Srishti, Tanvi?
Yes, Auntie. Yes, Auntie, it certainly made sense.
Right,
It's like you're creating the whole story in your mind only. So it's better just to drop it at that moment, because you can't change the other person. You have to work on yourself. And I think this really helped out, because this was Tanvi's question about to just ask.
Like instant, like supposing you say, my father always gets angry with me, or he always, he always looks at the negative points in me. He's always taking me off. We all feel this, isn't it? We all feel it with people around us. And is it the truth? Of course, because every day, every second day, there's a confrontation. And then it is like, is it the absolute truth? No, there are a lot of times that, he is loving also towards me, or she goes out of her way to make me feel comfortable. And then if you are with that thought that, okay, he's always angry and he's scolding me, then of course it's going to be very painful, and you'll feel very small, and you won't feel loved, and you'll feel very limited. But if you just drop that thought, and that's only a thought that you're believing and giving the power to make it a reality for you, isn't it? So the moment you change that thought, and you drop that thought, that first statement that you made, and you turn that statement around, that my father is loving to me, or I can dance, I love to dance, or that that I can, I mean, this person loves me, or this person, likes my presence in her or his life, or is not always angry at me. Even if simply we turn it around, It is just so liberating. And then if you start affirming that, these are how affirmations are made, isn't it? I have a wonderful relationship with such and such a person, the person with whom you have maximum confrontations. You know, my neighbor always looks at me lovingly. My neighbor always uplifts my energy. Whenever I see my neighbor, I get uplifted. So the moment we shift that whole, the whole statement around, it just becomes so, because it's not true that she's rejecting you or putting you down, isn't it? Yes, Shalini?
I wanted to ask you this, that so this is one thing that, the judgments that we make about, probably how others are perceiving us. However, what do we do about, how we land up judging others? So very candidly sharing with you, my daughter is in class 12, and I land up keep on telling her that, she's not putting enough effort, and that's kind of a statement that I've been making very frequently, that you don't put in enough effort. It might be somewhere impacting her negatively, and how do I
Yeah,
handle that
absolutely.
situation? For that matter, even with my house help, I land up keep on telling her कि बहुत lazy है, बहुत ढीली है. So how do I
Yeah.
handle that?
So see, it is the same actually, Shalini. It is the same that you're saying about you judging other people or other people judging you. It is the same. There's no real difference. So if you say that, okay, if you say that she's not really putting in her best, that's a judgment in your head that my daughter is not putting in her best. So if I ask you, is it true? You'll say, yeah, she's on the laptop or she's on the computer and she's doing other things, whatever, or she's on the phone. Is it the absolute truth that she's not doing her best? Of course not. It is not so. She's doing the best that she can at this time. Of course, she could do better, but at this time, she's doing her best. She's also concerned about her results and her, her education. And how are you with the thought? When you feel that thought that, yeah, she's just not doing her, she's just not doing her best, or she's not doing well enough as she needs to, then it makes you feel miserable and, really makes you feel horrible about the whole situation. But if you drop that thought and you just tell yourself that, okay, she is doing her best, that does not mean that you've resigned to the fact that, yeah, she's just doing an average thing, so it'll be there. But that will motivate you to give her more positive energy to do even better, isn't it? Because firstly, you're not speaking to her or addressing her from a space of fear and lack. So you're saying that, yeah, I know you're doing your best, and you keep telling yourself that she is doing her best. You're still going to tell her that you need to do better or you can do better, but you can reframe it in the point that, like, you are doing, I know you're doing your best, but I think you need to just reflect and see that there's so much more that you can do, and I just say it from that point, or at least it will put you at ease in your mind, and you will not be in that space of fear which you're sending to her constantly. You understand? It's a very subtle difference, but first you have to drop that judgment again. It's a law of attraction. Whatever you focus on will increase in your life, isn't it? You focus on lack, you focus that she's not doing well enough, then all you see is that even if she does well, from 60 she may move to 70, from 70 she may move to 80, but it'll still not be enough, isn't it? But if you say, okay, she's doing 70 and that is 100% at the time, but let's pray that she can do more, then she will be motivated that, even if I've moved from 69 to 70, it's like just a 1%, but nobody is really acknowledging it. But if you acknowledge it and focus on that little improvement, then you'll see how much more you'll be able to get out of her. So you have to first shift that thought in your head, in your mind, that she's not, she's not doing her best. She is doing her best. You have to believe that within you. You are also doing your best as a mother. You could be doing better by just keeping quiet and sending her more energy to do better, rather than feeling that fear and threat within you, because that's the energy that you're sending out to her. Instead, send her an energy of love, send her energy to, feel more motivated, and use those words, those statements, that energy to uplift yourself and uplift her and uplift the energy of the house. That, once you feel good about yourself, you will obviously want to do better in every area of your life, isn't it? You want to go for a walk in the morning, but you're just not able to pick yourself up. because you're feeling, oh, this is also not okay, this is also not okay. But when you tell yourself it's okay, you do that, you see how energetically you'll be up and about and do what you need to. Same way, you have to motivate or get into that phase of motivation, but you'll only do that when you feel good about yourself, isn't it? So she'll
how
only
did
pick
you know
herself
that
up
I've not been going on walks?
because even I haven't been going since Diwali. And I told myself today, now enough, tomorrow morning you have to go. Yeah, even I haven't been going. It was like Diwali here, and then I got viral. So I was down with viral for a week, and then it's too much pollution. But today, actually, I stepped out early in the morning. I didn't go for a walk, but I stepped out, and it was like so beautiful. And I said, why am I not going on? Just, I mean, not that we are living in houses which are not polluted or anything, but just put on your mask and get your act together and out. So I'll message you tomorrow morning when I go out for my walk.
Perfect. Perfect. That'll motivate me, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So just see, once you are in this phase of just that one statement of feeling motivated and you feel that energy to do, it's like, okay, now, my friend is not going, she's away out of town. So even I'll go when she comes. I mean, our mind will give us 150 reasons. But if we are okay with ourselves and we say, okay, I mean, the walk is for me to, step out. And at the moment I step out, it'll be so lovely and beautiful outside. But if I'm just living with things behind my back, then of course, I'll just stay in my bed and keep sipping my tea and say, it's okay, kal dekhungi. Then I don't feel good about it, isn't it?
Right, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So just motivate her, just be motivated, just uplift that whole energy, because if she's already probably going through so much of stress with the kind of pressures around, with the admissions ahead, all that. So don't pressurize her more. Just know that she will do her best. There's something already that is already sort of predestined for her, what her career is going to be. Just live this life with her, the day, the time, the moment, in a more joyful and a more happier way, rather than living in a constricted and a fearful way. Isn't it?
Sure.
And in fact, for all your relationships and for yourself, you don't have to beat yourself up if you didn't go for a walk. It's okay. But the day you realize, you come into that awareness that, okay, I really need to do this. Now, if the weather has changed, I can go in the evening also if I don't feel like getting up in the morning, and that's fine too. Isn't it? So don't beat yourself up. Just motivate yourself to the best of your ability. Maybe you can't go all the way. Just go out for 15 minutes and come back. You don't have to say, okay, I can't go for 40 minutes, so I can't go. Just go for 15 minutes. Just do little things and appreciate. Isn't it? And that'll help you to take the bigger leaps. And whenever you catch yourself in the judgment, like Vani said, like we spoke so much today, whenever you feel limited, think of what you're speaking. Is it expanding you or is it contracting you? And what you're saying in that judgment has nothing to do with the other person. It is only about what you are feeling about yourself, about your life, which ourselves shouting at our house help or telling them, why did you do this? Why did you? Is it really that issue that has triggered? No, the issue is something more. That no, I mean, why I've told them 10 times, why can't they do it in the right way? But you understand they can't do it in the right way. If they were able to do it and understand it, they wouldn't be your house help. So do you want to disrupt your energy system by speaking like that, or being more peaceful and, just getting up yourself and doing it in the way that you want to do it? And then your mind will say, but I'm paying them. Like all that chatter comes into our head. Those are the judgments, isn't it? All of us feel these things, but catch yourself there. Because did you feel nice shouting at them or saying what you said? No. So why do you want to go there? So whenever you feel you've said something or you feel something, just take a pause before speaking. It'll really, really help you to build up on the relationship with others as well as with yourself. And next week, we're going to talk about this because I see it really comes up from judgments about how I feel, how comfortable I feel in my own skin, how comfortable I feel with myself. And a lot of times people, when I meet children or meet people who are, who have a lot of judgment about themselves, like body shaming, when they feel that, oh, I'm too fat or I'm too skinny or I'm too dark. All these things are like judgments that you form about yourself because somebody told you as a child that you're not, you're very fat, or somebody told you that, oh, your complexion is so dark and your sister is so fair or your brother is so fair, then those judgments just remain with us and we're not able to grow out of them. So let's talk about this. We'll reframe it in a better way. But yeah, do keep coming and sharing and contributing, because it is just so wonderful. And these simple things just limit us uselessly in life. Just uselessly in life. We do believe in past lives, but I still say that this is the life that we need to live to the fullest. Jo ho gaya, who knows about it? But yeah, this is the life that we need to live to the fullest. So let's try to catch ourselves, drop these judgments, anything that limits us, and be absolutely loving and perfect just the way we are, because God has made us just the way we are, one of a kind, each one of us. And we are just perfect and beautiful the way we are. Thank you so much. I love you all, and I